A little bit about our speaker today, Adam Lewenberg. He is the president of Postal Advocate. We are the only mail audit and recovery firm in the US and Canada. We manage a portfolio of over 134,000 pieces of mailing equipment for the largest US companies. He speaks and teaches nationally on mail savings and industry trends. He was the former industry co-chair for the Boston Postal Customer Council, and he is a member of the Mail Systems Management Association with certifications for CMDSS and MDC. He's a featured writer for the Mailing Systems Technology magazine, and he also worked for one of the largest mailing vendors for over 17 years. He was the director of national sales for Presort, tabletop inserters, addressing, hardware, software, and green offerings. He was also one of the top 5 account managers nationally, working with some of the nation's largest accounts. Over to you, Adam.
Thanks, Doris. So good morning, everybody. We get to talk about one of my favorite topics, PC, postage, and I'm here to tell you one's better than the other. We don't have any financial backings by any company. We're here to give you, unbiased opinions and thoughts and expertise based on what are the things you need to think about in this space. So what's happening to business mail? So first off, it comes to no surprise, everyone's heard it, mail volumes are going down. But what type of mail volumes are going down? It's not universal. The biggest decrease that we're seeing in mail is on first-class letter mail, which is basically day-to-day type correspondence, business mail. So if you look at the volumes up above, these are published from the Postal Service, and you can look at, one of the biggest reductions is letters, cards, and flats. Those are like the main things people do in their office. But if you look at the next one down, pre-sort, those are the larger volume mailers. They're using a pre-sort service, or they're automating their mailings in-house. That volume is not going down by as much because a lot of companies are getting smarter and consolidating mail amongst different locations and consolidating it to where they can get better rates. Priority mail is growing. So the package volumes, as a lot of you would suspect, are growing. But it's not usually growing in your offices. It's growing in the e-tail environment where we're ordering lightweight items going to our homes. And that's the main growth area of the priority mail. You're probably not seeing growth in your offices about doing a lot significantly more priority mail volume. So here are the reasons why mail volumes are changing. Like if you want to break it down, invoices and like the largest single mail category that people send are invoices and statements, right? So they're sending bills to clients for the services they've done. More of that's going online. Companies are doing consolidated print, and that's the reduced decline we saw in pre-sort. The next biggest mailing that people do is checks and accounts payable and payroll checks. So accounts payable, more and more companies are moving to electronic payments. Payroll checks, very few companies send, payroll, checks anymore. Even fewer send direct deposit slips. Then people used to do a lot of day-to-day mailings through, office mailings with marketing mail. And with marketing mailings, most of that is either moving to outsourced mail houses that have the expertise and the software to do it, or people are switching to email marketing, which is easier. And then what you have left is the day-to-day mail volumes. We have to send a contract here. We have to send a notice to that person. That volume is much smaller. So what's happening in the space, as you can see from the chart below, is the postage meter market in the United States is declining at a rate of about 4 or 5% per year. The PC postage market is growing because as people mail less and less, they don't need these bigger solutions. So we're seeing a growth in the PC postage. And there's also some other reasons why we're seeing growth in it. That doesn't mean that postage meters aren't a good solution for your options. And we'll go through those differences. But we wanted to give you sort of a snapshot about what's going on in the mail. So you have 3 basic types of mailing system options to think about. So there's PC postage, which is basically you log into a computer and you generate stamps onto sheets of stamps that you print onto your local printer, or you stack up envelopes into your printer if you know how to do that, or you print shipping labels and 4x6 shipping labels, and you do that directly from your computer. Then there's postage meters, and these are pictures of fictitious postage meters, as you can see over here on the right. And basically, They're either hand-fed, so smaller hand-fed units where you feed them one at a time into the machine, or they're automatic feed units where you take a pile of envelopes, put them on the left, hit start, and it shoots it through the machine, and in some cases seals it and stamps it, and in some cases weighs it in line. So there are a lot of differences. Well, everyone will get a copy of this presentation, so you'll have these details. We don't have to go through every single one of these. But the key thing to think about is what kind of production and speed do you need to get things done? And that's one of the biggest differentiators between these systems. And obviously, there's a big difference in cost as you look down below at the monthly investment. So one of the biggest challenges or changes that have happened in the postage meter space is there's a requirement that all meters move to network or cellular connections. So it used to be most meters were connected to analog phone lines. That's the way probably over 50% of meters are still connected to analog phone lines. And there's a push to get them all connected to the network. And the main reason is the phone companies aren't supporting analog phone lines in the future. And so there's this push to get meters onto the network. We work with large enterprise accounts that in some cases have hundreds or thousands of locations. They may have IT issues about putting meters on their network. And we find, especially in financial services and healthcare, there's issues with that. So this is causing clients some issues. So in some cases, it's very easy. You plug the meter into your network and it works, and it's not a big deal. In some issues, firewalls are blocked down, and this is a big issue. So it's something that if you're not looking at it, you should be, because as meters get replaced, service by replacement, renewed, the new machines may not have the analog connectors. So it's something that you have to deal with. On the flip side, analog phone lines are really expensive. There's $30 or $40 a month for an analog phone line. It's probably only being used for the postage meter. So it's a good savings opportunity to get meters connected. Technology changes. So in the mailing systems, postage meters, we have the constant connection requirement that we talked about. Another reason that meters have to be connected to the networks is because there's more data being connected and transferred between the meter itself to the hub that is more difficult to do off slower analog connections. If we all remember the dial-up connections we used to have with the ringing as you connected, a lot of these meters are still connected in that way. Some of the vendors have mobile connectors that are available now. So instead of needing to connect to your network, you have the ability to use like something that connects to Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and looks for the strongest signal that's available. And that can be significantly less expensive than the analog lines that you're doing today. Other mailing system technology changes are PC postage integration. It used to be you picked either mailing systems or PC postage. Now a lot of the mailing systems have the option to add PC postage functionality, and that will allow you to do a lot of the benefits of PC postage on top of the mailing systems. The other piece is mailing systems, because they're having more of a lot of them, the newer units will have touch screens and physical computers inside of them, will have web-connected apps. And these apps allow you to do things like order supplies, track a package, place service calls, and they're going to be newer and newer apps that are going to come out on the mailing machines that will do different things. With PC postage, some of the big enhancements are multi-carrier. So it used to be PC postage was just for the United States Postal Service. A lot of the new PC postage platforms have the ability to do different carriers, do potentially FedEx or UPS, and to have different ways of comparing rates. It used to be that if you used PC postage, you had to install software on your computer, and that was a big issue, especially if you wanted to deploy it over 10, 50, 100, or hundreds of locations. The new systems are web-based, and they have the same functionality now as the installed versions, which means you just basically hit a website, enter a username and password, and you're in. And this limits IT involvement, which is a really important piece. Nobody wants to go to their IT department and say, look, I'm trying to install a fleet of PC postage. What do I need to do to get on a project list? Now with the new web-based, you don't have to. The biggest changes, though, that have happened are on enterprise functionality. Some of the new systems can do single sign-on. And what that means is instead of having to enter a username and password and maintain username and passwords for all your users, you can basically connect to a corporate directory and automatically validate the users. Makes it much easier to maintain. And the other benefit is oftentimes we find when systems are maintained manually without this, people don't purge their users. So people that are no longer employed may still be in a system with the ability to ship and send because nobody ever purged them. The new systems have improved reporting. They can report on just about anything you need to do, and enhanced user controls. And that means in an enterprise environment, you can control, if this user can order supplies, this user can only print postage up to a certain amount, this user has to be on this cost center, this user has to be linked to this location. And so there's a lot more controls that you can do than you could do in the past. So now we're going to start looking at these systems around the functional aspects about what things you need to think about with each system. Okay, so simplicity, mailing systems, very easy to use. You walk up, you hit there's a defined preset usually that they have, which defaults to a 50-cent letter as an example, or whatever you have predefined the machine to, and you run your mail through. PC postage, you need to log into a website, print postage directly onto an envelope or sheet, so you have to feed something into your local printer, and then to generate postage. So from a simplicity standpoint, we'd have to give the win to mailing systems. They're a little bit easier. PC postage is not difficult, but from a just pure walk over and run a piece of mail, simplicity, I'd have to give it to Postage Meters. Productivity. Mailing systems are designed to do higher volumes. So they have feeders, sealers, integrated weighing platforms, automatic feeders that can pile piles of envelopes. So, small end machines can do about 20 letters a minute, for the most basic meters. High end systems can do up to 300 letters a minute. Versus PC postage, where you basically have to peel and stick labels onto your piece. PC postage is usually designed for lower volumes. Usually the thresholds we put are less than $500 a month in postage. Postage meters are great for people doing tens of thousands of dollars in postage. When you're at the low end of the spectrum, I won't say it necessarily matters. There is a unique benefit to PC postage that you can import an address list into the system, and you can print the return address, the destination address, and the postage all in one pass. Versus postage meters, where you're usually going to address that piece separately in a different application. So overall in productivity, I'd have to give it to mailing systems, but if it's low end and you want to incorporate in address printing, PC postage could be a good solution. Packages and priority mail, those are different. So most mailing systems are basically going to just run it through the machine at regular postage rates. At the retail postage rates, which we'll go into in a sec. And you're just printing the postage itself. With PC postage, you're printing a 4x6 shipping label. You can import an address list. You can print the address, the barcode, and the postage amount all in one pass. And you can apply for lower postage rates, which we'll explain. So around packages and priority mail, PC postage is much better suited for this type of application. In fact, that's the reason that a lot of mailing systems are adding PC postage as an option, is because in order to do packages and priority mail, which is the fastest growth segment in the mailing industry. Flexibility. So mailing systems can handle any mail volume, any size, and any class of mail, basically. PC postage, you process mail and packages anywhere you have an internet connection. So whether you're home, whether you're working in small offices, whether you're traveling, with PC postage, you can handle any volume of packages. So if you had a 10,000 package job that you want to do, you could import 10,000 names into the system and shoot out 10,000 labels. Like, you have the ability to do that with PC postage, where with postage meters, mailing systems, it's much more manual. Some solutions have the ability to compare rates between UPS and FedEx with the Postal Service, so to make it easy to make sure you're making the right shipping decision. So from a flexibility standpoint, we're going to call it a tie, but it's only because if you're doing higher productions of different classes, mailing systems might win out. If you're doing any package volumes or you're working in different places, PC postage wins out. So it's really depending on your situation. Reporting. So mailing systems, so you might hear this as in the mailing vendors might bring up accounting systems. How many departments do you want to track? How do you need the reports? Mailing systems come with basic accounting. So, and that basic accounting tracks the number of pieces and the amount of postage you did in a time period. You can get more advanced accounting packages that will give you different information like mail class detail. They can track larger number of accounts. They can give you the transactions that you mailed over periods. You can export to Excel. And some mailing systems will give you the ability to export that data, or access that data on the vendor's website, versus needing to like sit at the machine and have a printer connected. PC Postage gives you visibility to every stored item, and depending on the vendor, anywhere between 90 days to 2 years of history. You can have flexible accounting options with the details of what the user spends, what the access spend, what account. So if you want to break it down by the user, the account number, the meter, the class of mail, it's very flexible. 1,000+ accounts that can be tracked, any date range you can imagine, visibility to literally every printed item with charts and graphs. And this is on the most basic PC Postage platform that there is. You don't need any fancy accounting packages. This is on the basics. So in this category, if reporting is a really important thing, PC Postage just definitely shines over Postage Meters. Low end, especially at the low end. What we find, we manage some clients that have, like I said, thousands of locations. And when they want to track postage across, all those locations and see who's doing what classes they're doing, and what they're mailing, they have much better controls on PC Postage than mailing systems. If you're in a high-end production site, you certainly want the accounting packages that are tied to your mailing systems, and that can, mimic the ability on PC Postage, but it's usually enhanced options. So in reporting, PC Postage would definitely shine. Postage discounting. So it used to be there weren't any postage discounts, that you could really take advantage of at the basic level without doing a lot of work. Now there are discounts you can get without doing really anything that just the post office gives you based on, how you give them the mail. So the first discount that's great is starting in January of this year, everybody, whether you're using a mailing system or PC Postage, gets a 5-cent discount. So it's 55 cents for a stamped. So if you buy a stamp at the post office, it's 55 cents. If you use a postage meter or PC Postage, it's 50 cents. You save 5 cents, 9% savings. It's like the largest savings we've ever gotten for being able to just, use automated technology. So then there's the next savings is electronic certified with return receipt. So if you do certifies and instead of getting the green card back, you can track the pieces online, you can get $1.25 savings over the retail price. It's $1.20 for the electronic return receipt plus the 5 cents for the stamp savings. So that's a feature that comes standard on many PC Postage systems, and it's an extra option on meters. And it's usually only available for the mid to larger size mailing systems. So in that place, I would say it's a little bit of a shine towards PC Postage. The next piece is about commercial versus retail rates. So there's two main ways to submit packages. And think of it like this. You go to the post office retail counter, or you print a meter imprint like you see here on the right, and that would be a retail rate. Or you submit a 4x6 shipping label with the address, the return address, and a tracking barcode. That's the commercial rate. The post office is trying to get people to move to the commercial rate structure for the reason that the commercial rates, they get an electronic file, and in that electronic file, it gives them all the information about who you're sending it to, who you are, what the tracking numbers are. It allows them to more effectively compete with UPS and FedEx because they have this package level detail in their systems. If you just run it through a postage meter, the only thing that's being submitted is the tracking number and the amount. The system doesn't know, post office doesn't know who it's from and who it's going to. So you can see the discounts for that. Commercial rates on average are about 18% for priority, 13% for express mail by just running it through a PC Postage tool. Next, you can see first-class parcels. So first-class parcels is anything less than a pound that doesn't have to go priority mail per se. It can go first-class parcel, which is unique because when you're looking at private carriers like FedEx and UPS, they go by the pound rate. This is the one place where you can send parcels or off-site items, and you're rating it by the ounce, which is a unique place. So if you're using a postage meter or you're going to the postal service, you get the retail rates versus the commercial rates. The difference are huge, 12 to 28% savings by converting to the electronic version with PC postage. And the discounts, if the items get heavier, the rates go up to 15.99 ounces versus if it's in a retail environment, priority mail starts at 13 ounces. At 14 ounces. So you get a couple extra ounces where you still get to rate at the ounce rate, and that's why the savings jump as pieces get heavier. So one key thing to note is if you're a high volume mailer and you use any automation software with barcodes or pre-sort services for your letters and flats, you want to continue using a mailing system because basically PC postage doesn't have those automation classes. They have to be run through a meter. But overall, we'd have to give the win of postal discounting to PC postage because there are just so many different ways that it saves money for basically just doing the basic function. Ease of doing business. Contracting. So with mailing systems, they're usually, most people, the way your options are leasing, purchasing, or renting. The way it usually works is the majority of people lease their mailing systems. I would say it's probably in the neighborhood of about 80 to 85% of people lease mailing systems, and they can purchase them. Usually they purchase them at the mid to high end of the market, and at the low end of the market you can either lease or rent, but there isn't really that much to purchase because the low end of the space is really just the meter itself. So leases are typically 3 to 5 years in duration. It locks you into a specific payment. PC postage, by definition, by exception, is usually on anywhere between a month-to-month agreement to a 12-month agreement, and after that, you're free. For mailing systems, they have meter rentals that are typically only for the low-end systems. Larger units have to be purchased with meter rental and maintenance agreements, and annual increases apply. From a contracting standpoint, we'd have to give it to PC postage because it's just such a simple option. It's not really a fair comparison because mailing systems are doing so many different things at so many different volumes, and that you're buying more than just a simple subscription. But from a contracting standpoint, certainly PC postage is easy. Installation and training. Mailing systems, new installs must be connected to the network. Low-end units are usually self-installable. Mid to high-end, an on-site tech will come out. There are websites and online videos that you can use for extra support. PC postage is usually accessed via web or installed directly onto your computer. There are websites and online videos, and there's daily and weekly webinars that you can get onto to tell you how the systems work. So in this category, I'd call it a tie. I don't think any one solution shines over another. Ongoing support, what type of service maintenance do they offer? With mailing systems, there's a very detailed website, across all the vendors, 800 call center assistance. Low-end systems usually are serviced by replacement. Mid to high-end, they get on-site support, and enterprise accounts will usually have a dedicated account manager. In PC postage, there's a very detailed website, 800 call center support, service by replacement. Usually that only applies to scales and label printers, and you'll get an enterprise account manager. So these, from a support standpoint, I would say these are pretty similar. Really, a lot of the experience is going to be based on your account management to make sure that you're being properly taken care of. Billing. So with mailing systems, frankly, there's more things you need to pay for. So with mailing systems, you've got lease bills, rental bills, maintenance, rate changes, postage, which is either in prepaid or advanced accounts. The billing is usually paper or electronic. You can choose payment options or credit cards, not for postage except for the smallest machines. ACH is the preferred method for, across the board, and check. With PC postage, paper or electronic, the same way. Payment options, most of it's done by credit card. Some postage can be taken out via ACH and check, but there's a movement, and larger accounts can get invoiced. If you have multi-location accounts, there are ways that you can get invoiced from the vendors where they can do some consolidated billing. The invoiced items are only monthly subscription charges, postage, prepaid, or advanced. Most vendors can do both. So on the billing side, it goes to PC postage, but it's a very simple offering and compared to mailing systems where there's just more things to pay for. But you'll have less complaints from people about billing on PC postage than mailing systems, mainly because there's less to keep track of. Investment. So mailing systems will cost anywhere between $20 to $1,000, $20 to $1,000 a month on lease and rentals as a way to think about it. If you were to purchase them, they'll cost anywhere between $1,000 to $30,000 to buy. Versus PC postage, which is between $5 and $40 a month based on the type of system, how you configure it, what kind of offers are available at the time. Fees. There are a lot of fees in mailing systems. There's maintenance, rate change, meter resets, postage advance fees, meter overage fees, equipment insurance, late fees, finance charges, property taxes, and these things can get confusing for clients. So, there is a lot of fees that people have to look out for, and the fees seem to be growing, over time. With PC postage, the fees are limited. Some vendors are going to charge late fees and finance charges. Mainly, it's going to be on postage, especially if you're borrowing postage from them. So on a typical cost, we have to give the win to PC postage. It's a simpler service, it's less expensive, and there are less extra fees to pay for. As far as supplies, with meter and ink, especially as your volumes get higher, the per price, let's back up for a sec. With PC postage, you have to print usually onto labels. You can print onto envelopes, which some people will do, but the majority of people are going to print onto labels. Labels will cost 3 to 7 cents per piece. Some vendors allow you to use Avery labels, but it's sort of a hack that you can work around. Meter vendors for the ink is going to be somewhere between 1 to 13 cents per piece. High volume is going to be 0.3 to 0.08. So as volumes grow, supplies are definitely less expensive on mailing systems, especially if you're doing any kind of volume of mail. For low end, it's pretty comparable, but for high end, the mailing systems will definitely have lower supply costs for you to think about. Fleet management. So most accounts, it'd be great if you could just do one or the other. We don't find that works for most organizations. So for low volume applications, it's easier to manage PC postage. If you have 100 locations within the field, it's easier to implement PC postage for the low end offices because there's no networking issues, there's no hardware maintenance costs, easier to add and remove subscriptions. You get much better data on the accounting controls. You get to see every single piece of mail, who sent it and how they sent it. So the level of detail is far superior with PC postage. But as you get to mid-volume locations, they usually need more efficient processing. They need sealing systems. They need systems with automatic feeders. They don't want to sit there and peel labels onto each piece. So they're going to probably want mailing systems. And that's usually what we find in most organizations. So the event champion. So it's hard to pick an exact champion because it all depends on your application. So what I would say is mailing systems are best suited for higher letter and flat volumes. PC postage is best suited for low volume mailers or people that are shipping package volume. So package priority mailers, people who have occasional packages to, electronic certified with return receipt. That's better suited for PC postage because it's more sophisticated work. It involves more data, which is easier to do on a computer than it is to do on the small screen of a postage meter. So we have to give it a tie, and it's only a tie because it's based on the type of mail that you do. So hopefully this type of comparison is helpful, and hopefully this gave you some ideas to think about. What we're doing is we're managing these fleets for our clients. And our clients, like I said, could have anywhere between 10 to multiple thousands of locations. We're managing the largest fleet of mailing equipment in the world, we believe, with about 134,000 pieces of mailing equipment. We just calculated it. It's over $2 billion of postage our clients run. And we've just hit, within the last week, the $50 million threshold in client savings. But we're the most proud is that our average client savings is about 60%, which has been about 1.5 million per client. Everyone on our team came from the industry. We have web-based tools that provide visibility to all this equipment and inventory and postage that people have. And we help manage the category. And we've also helped our clients recover about $12 million in lost postage, vendor overcharges, and fees, just as these things come up. Infrequently do people catch them, but we're looking at every bill and every location, and we're able to get these types of refunds for our clients. So if you do need help from the experts, the way that we do it is for any client that's interested, we do a no cost or obligation analysis of your mail spend to show you what's going on. To do that, it's just there's a simple letter of authority we need you to sign or print on your letterhead, and then provide a couple copies of if there's an inventory report or an accounts payable list, so we can help build this population of where all your equipment and spends are throughout the country. And we'll do a full analysis on that and then show you what savings are available. And from that point, you can decide if you do decide you want to move forward, then we'll submit the credit request that we find. We'll submit the lost postage requests and eliminate the fees. We'll help you negotiate pricing, create a catalog for your locations, and then help you do validations and right sizes and terminations that fits what your sites need. And then we present all savings to you for approval. We manage it in a web dashboard, and we provide ongoing support because there's always locations that are coming and going in any organization. So we believe in this type of educational format because we find that it's the best way for you to understand what are all the issues that you even need to think about with with mail. And that helps you to see, do you even need an expert? Can you do this on your own? Or are you thinking about the full scope of what is entailed in these types of solutions? So this is our schedule for the rest of the year. In May, the top 10 ways for companies to save on mail costs. In June, the top 9 ways to recover lost postage. In September, there's FASB requirements that are basically new accounting standards where people need a much higher level of visibility to their leases because all of their leases have to be now reported on their balance sheet, which they didn't used to have to be able to. So we'll talk about how do you gain that visibility. Top 10 ways to manage enterprise mailing spends across the enterprise, and then everything you need to know when buying mailing equipment in November. Every December, postage rates change in January of every year. That's the way it's been, at least. And we run rate change webinars as soon as we have the rates that are announced in December and January to make sure that you're up to speed with how to budget for them. So I really appreciate everybody being on the call today. I want to open it up to any questions. Hopefully this type of format is helpful for you, and please let us know any questions that come up.
Thank you, Adam.
Sure.
So just as a quick reminder, if you have a question, you can either put your hand up and I will unmute you, or you can put your question in the chat box and we will do our best to answer all questions today. I do have a couple questions that were typed in there. So let's start with, is there any limit to size for PC postage?
Nope. So there are clients out there that have, multiple thousands of, locations on PC postage and, with the ability to expand. It's one of the nice things. It's very simple to expand and contract as you need to. And postage meter fleets can do similar things. You could have, there are clients that we manage that do have multiple thousands of postage meters. They're just and they can be wrapped into master bills and master reporting as well.
Okay. And another question, can we test PC postage with just a few sites to start instead of doing all locations at once?
Yeah, we typically recommend that. We don't, especially if, especially if you're thinking about doing something across a whole enterprise, we recommend trying it in a small group, getting feedback, and then expanding like in a more like methodical way, with, group by group. We don't find that they usually works well if you just dump this on, a huge group of sites at once. It can be done, and we've done it, but it's usually better to start with a small group, use them as a base, and then use them as a reference as you're launching it out to the company. Any other questions? Someone asked, how do we get a copy of this presentation? Doris, I'm going to give that one to you.
Yep. So the presentation link and the recording will be on the post-webinar email that will be sent to you tomorrow. And it will also be available through SlideShare and YouTube and also on our website under FAQs. Oh, and let me see here. Okay, so that's good.
Any other questions? And feel free, if you have something you're not comfortable using on this group, feel free to email me at the address below, adam.lewenberg@postaladvocate.com. Happy to answer any questions. All right, well, I want to thank everybody for being on the call. Hopefully you got some information that was helpful, and please let us know if you need any help with anything in the future. Have a nice afternoon.